This is a hilarious story. I'm not really outraged. I know a lot of people are outraged, and I understand why they're outraged. You don't like it when politicians lie to them. But God, is this a funny story. Jewish. What an explanation, man. My goodness. Okay, let's watch. Let's watch. I don't know if you guys heard about George Santos. So George Santos is a Republican congressperson who recently won election into office. You know, he is the, you know, congressman-elect. He is going to serve for at least 2 years, and it has been exposed that everything he's ever said is a lie. And when I say everything he ever said is a lie, I mean this guy on the campaign trail lied about his education. He lied about working for Goldman Sachs. He lied about being Jewish. He lied about the history of his family. He was lying about everything. The one that's getting the most attention is the fact that he, to multiple Jewish groups, claimed to be Jewish, claimed that his family came from Ukraine and fled as Jews into Belgium, and then before going to Brazil and coming to America. And since then, he has been doing a ton of interviews trying to cover up his background. Now, I wanted to show you guys when he got grilled on a news program. But first, a little bit of background before we move on to him getting grilled over this, because we also have an update about a possible investigation into it.
Our politics lead, Republican Congressman-elect George Santos of New York is now admitting to lying about his background and falsifying key parts of his resume. But he's insisting he's not a criminal and says he will take his seat in the next Congress.
Oh yeah, that was another lie. He said that both of his parents almost died on 9/11. It's completely made up. He just like, oh, they both almost died. I mean, I guess they both almost died in the idea that they were both in the United States. Like, he just couldn't stop making up shit, man.
Despite growing calls for his resignation. But as CNN's Eva McKen reports, many questions remain about that history he's owning up to right now.
An admission.
Did I embellish my resume? Yes, I did.
And an apology.
And I'm sorry.
Dude, I've never seen somebody who also just looks so smarmy. I don't even know what exactly I mean by that, but if somebody was to like design a congressman who would lie about the entirety of their background, he's exactly it. I don't know what that even means. I don't, but God, man, what a silly story. Like, unironically, like, he won, meaning that, like, I wonder if he could have won without all the lies. Like, this could have been a completely avoidable problem.
And it shouldn't be done.
After a week of controversy, Congressman-elect George Santos fessing up to lying on the campaign trail about parts of his resume as he seeks to minimize and defend the extent of his tall tales on everything from his education and work history to his philanthropic pursuits and Jewish heritage.
I apologize.
This is great. Listen to this.
Feels hurt or betrayed.
Listen to this.
I will gain everybody's trust back by just delivering results for them and making sure they do not forget why they voted for me in the first place, which was to get stuff done.
Santos has boasted.
Wait, I don't know okay, they didn't play the clip. I thought it was the clip they're about to play. But his excuse for lying about being Jewish, okay? You gotta hear it. Maybe they're gonna play it. If they don't, I'm gonna bring it up because it's the best thing in the world. I swear to God.
Of working for investment banks, Citigroup, and Goldman Sachs. He now admits he did not. The congressman-elect claimed he received degrees from both NYU and Baruch College. He now says he did not. But he maintains he's not a criminal and still intends to serve in Congress.
I'm not resigning. Mm-hmm. I have to leave Congress, Guy. It's going to be by a pink slip by the voters, November of 2024.
And then there.
By the way, terrible excuse, by the way. The idea of like, well, you know, the voters chose me, so only the voters can remove me. Yeah, but the voters chose a different person. The voters chose a Jew who had worked for Goldman Sachs, worked for Citigroup, who had an education, who had this, who had that. They voted for a completely different person. They didn't vote for George Santos. They voted for George Santos, a totally different person who doesn't exist. Thank you for the 100 bits.
There are the questions surrounding his alleged Jewish heritage.
We're no stranger to persecution. My grandfather fleeing Ukraine in 1920s to Belgium, then fleeing Belgium to Brazil in 1940.
Those claims were contradicted by family trees compiled by genealogy websites, records on Jewish refugees, and interviews with multiple genealogists. Santos now saying he never claimed to be Jewish.
I always joke, I'm Catholic, but I'm also Jewish.
I'm sorry, man. What? That's the best excuse in the world. No. I'm not Jewish, okay? I'm not Jewish. I'm Jewish. That's the best excuse in the world. This was an interview he did after this was exposed. This was his actual unironic excuse. This isn't a joke. This isn't a joke. Oh my God. Jewish, man. I love it. I love it.
As in ish. And I've made that joke because growing up, I grew up.
By the way, to be clear, terrible excuse, yada yada. He has claimed to be Jewish. He didn't say it as a joke. He has claimed to be Jewish, as in he is a Jew. Okay, as in oy vey, he is a Jew, right? You know, Jew, the chosen people, yada yada, right? He Torah. You get the gist. Not Jewish, as in I don't know. Maybe I like a bagel on a Sunday. I don't know what Jewish means, but he claimed to be a Jew while talking to multiple Jewish groups.
Fully aware that my grandparents were Jewish.
But CNN learning that Santos described himself as a proud American Jew in a document he shared with prominent Jewish groups.
Shabbat shalom to everybody.
Santos
said Shabbat shalom. Okay, that's enough of this. That's enough of this. You get the idea. You understand the controversy. Even other Republican elected congressmen from his state, people who just got elected, are saying, Santos, like, we need an investigation into this. Like, maybe Santos should think about resigning. Tons of people are protesting in his district, asking him to resign after lying to them about his identity, where they feel like they were conned by this guy. And he has decided to sit in his seat. He's not leaving. He's like, well, I won. Might as well ride it out, I guess. Anyway, he has decided that he's going to basically post through it. You know how somebody gets on a controversy on Twitter, they get canceled or something, and they just post through it, just tweeting and retweeting everyone who agrees with him. Well, he decided that maybe he could get some help if he went on Tucker Carlson's show. So he went on Tucker Carlson's show, which for whatever reason was being hosted by Tulsi Gabbard, who I most well know. I know her mostly for, fluffing the image of the Assad regime. Or maybe her lying about the war in Ukraine, or any number of reasons we can know Tulsi Gabbard for. Somebody who said they changed on LGBTQ plus issues while running for president in 2016, before immediately, once she wasn't elected president, showing that she had not changed whatsoever. She was going to interview him, and I don't know if he thought he was going to get an easy interview, but no, he gets torn apart by Tulsi Gabbard here. So I want to play the interview with Tulsi Gabbard and George Santos. And no matter who loses in this interview, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard or George, and it's going to be George, by the way, I'm happy. This is a kind of like, you can both sink. I'm excited. Like, I hope a ship full of two people, hope just ship goes down, you know? Anyway, let's watch. This should be interesting. This is a hilarious story. I'm not really outraged. I know a lot of people are outraged, and I understand why they're outraged. You don't like it when politicians lie to them. But God, is this a funny story. Jewish. What an explanation, man. My goodness. Okay, let's watch. Let's watch.
Joins us now. Congressman-elect Santos, thank you for joining us today. The first question I really want to ask you, now that all of this has been revealed, is what does the word integrity mean to you?
Well, Tulsi, thank you for having me. You know,
by the way, I hate those types of questions. I hate those types of questions. I understand that they're it's great for the audience and everything. It's like but I get it's basically a question that they're using to lead into it. But it could have started a little harder. I mean, you're going with the Jewish guy, right? Like you could have thought of a better banger to start it off. I understand the strategy. Just saying.
To answer your question, integrity is very important. And like I said to the New York Post, embellishing
what does it mean, though? What does it mean? Because the meaning of the word actually matters in practice.
Wait, is she actually asking the definition? It sounded more like in relation to... Okay, whatever. She's not my type of interviewer.
Of course, it means to carry yourself in an honorable way. And I made a mistake. And I think humans are flawed, and we all make mistakes, Tulsi.
But it wasn't one mistake, because it was it was the schools he went to, it was the banks he worked for, it was the religion he holds, it was his parents on 9/11 after grandstanding about his parents on 9/11. It was like a million different lies. So I don't think, if it was just like one lie or one embellishment, right? Everybody has embellished a tiny bit on like their work surveys and different, like on their like stuff when they're, you know, applying for a job. I would understand. It was like, oh, he said he was like, he was part of this program to get somebody on the moon, and all he did was design like the seats for the spaceship. And it'd be like, well, he still did it. You know, he's kind of leaving a lot of room for imagination there. So, you know, but that's not at all what happened. He just straight up lied. He lied about 9/11. He lied about being Jewish with the funniest lie in the world, Jewish. It's impossible to trust somebody who lies like this.
I think we can all look at ourselves in the mirror and admit that once in our life we made a mistake. I'm having to admit this in national television for the whole country to see, and I have the courage to do so because I believe that in order to move past this and move forward and be an effective member of Congress, I have to face my mistakes, and I'm facing them. The reality is that I remain committed to doing everything I set forward in my campaign. I'm not a fraud. I'm not a fake. I didn't materialize from...
He quite literally is a fake, though. Like half of the stuff about him was made up. There's not a better definition than a fake. Like if somebody says, oh, you're not a good journalist, you're a fake because they just don't like your journalism or don't like you're a YouTuber, don't like something like that, whatever. Like that's like one thing, right? To say, oh, you're a fake because you didn't meet this arbitrary standard I've set for airline pilots, so you're a fake airline pilot. No, he just made up being Jewish. He just made up going to schools he didn't go to. He just made up doing this. He just made up doing that. He is quite literally the definition of a fake and a fraud.
Thin air. I worked damn hard to get where I got my entire life. Life wasn't easy. It didn't start off easy. As I've said it many, many times, I come from abject poverty. I made some mistakes.
Dude, you know, if I was him, at this point, I would be like, I think my political career might be over, so I'm going to see how much I can meme it. During this interview, I would make up new fake details about my life. I would be like, my life wasn't hard. You know, when I survived 9/11, like I would double down. I'd be like, well, maybe I had to hide my identity because I'm actually an agent with the CIA. And I have had many identities, and sometimes I get them mixed up. And then I start like fake talking into like my shirt, like lean into it, you know? Lean into it. Have fun with it. You're gonna be congressman for 2 years anyway.
And I own up to them. And now I want to put this past me so I can deliver for the American people.
The thing is, Congressman-elect, integrity means, yes, carrying yourself with honor, but it means telling the truth, being a person of integrity. And if I were one of those in New York's 3rd District right now that the election is over, and I'm finding out all of these lies that you've told, not just one little lie or one little embellishment, these are blatant lies. My question is, do you have no shame? Do you have no shame in the people who...
Damn, what a question. Do you have no shame? Do you have no shame? She's not even like trying to find out new information from him. She's just almost like, I just want to watch you fucking squirm on national television. That's what she's doing. Listen to her questions. Her questions aren't like, give me some more details about the story. It's like, what's the definition of integrity? Do you have no shame? Why do you enjoy the sight of a child crying? Like, she's just out for blood. She just wants to watch him squirm.
Are now you're asking to trust you to go and be their voice for them, their families, and their kids in Washington?
Tulsi, I can say the same thing about the Democrats and the party. Look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden's been lying to the American people for 40 years.
The pivot, like, oh, I know. You know what I'll do? I'll attack Joe Biden. That'll win over the crowd. Please, please, I hate Biden too. I hate Biden too. I hate Biden's integrity. How about we talk about Biden's integrity? I wonder if Tulsi will let him get away with it. I doubt it. I doubt it. I mean, this is so blatant that even Tulsi has to stop him on this, right?
He's the president of the United States. Democrats resoundingly
Tulsi, you got to step in. This has nothing to do.
Look, I've made this very clear.
This is not about the Democratic Party, though. This is about your relationship, frankly, with the people who've entrusted you to go and fight for them. And I think one of the questions that really probably hits home to a lot of people is are you Jewish? We've got a letter that your campaign sent out earlier this year, which reads as follows. As a proud American Jew, I've been to Israel numerous times for educational, business, and leisurely trips. You said there in that letter that you are, quote, a proud American Jew. How do you explain that?
My heritage is Jewish. I've always identified as Jewish. I was raised a practicing Catholic. I think I've gone through this. Even I've not being raised a practicing Jew. I've always joked with friends and circles, even with in the
no, he's doing it again.
Jewish. Remember,
is this actually? He's actually doubling down on this defense. Nobody has talked to him since that interview and said, dude, that was very, very funny. Never say that again on TV. He's doubling down on it. I can't believe it. He's doing it in front of millions of people. Oh my God. Oh my God. I hope he stays in politics for a long time. For a long time. Like, maybe not as a congressman. Maybe as like a dog catcher. But if he can keep giving interviews like this, man, I don't want him to leave my television screen anytime soon.
Look, I understand everybody wants to nitpick at me. I'm going to reassure this once and for all. I'm not a facade. I'm not a persona. I have an extensive career that I worked really hard to achieve, and I'm going to deliver from my experience because I remain committed in delivering results for the American people. I campaigned on inflation. I campaigned on crime. I campaigned on education. I campaigned on delivering resolve for the American people. That's what the people of the 3rd Congressional District heard me on and on as I campaigned. Now it's going to be incumbent upon me to deliver on those results, and I look forward to servicing and serving my district. I look forward to serving my people in my district to make sure that they see that this is what
looking for. The results that
I hope every interview he slightly gets more and more like visibly stereotypically Jewish. Like every interview he starts wearing like, you know, the tiny little Jewish like religious hats. He starts, you know, like carrying around like little fake he starts like carrying out little Israel pins. He starts like getting like dressing more and more and more like, yeah, kippah. He starts dressing more and more. He starts doing the things with the like I don't know all the words for it, right? But, you know, he just slowly gets more and more Jewish, like very visibly. He starts like changing how he talks, like every interview progressively, until like a month from now, he's like swearing in on like the, he's swearing in on the Torah. I would love it, dude. He should just lean in harder and like get everything wrong along the way too. He's like, I'm Jewish. I wear the little funny hat. See, I can say I don't know the name of the kippah offhand because I'm not Jewish. Right? I never claimed to be Jewish. I love the Jewish people. Shout out to all the Jews. But I'm not pretending to be Jewish. I would love for him to like go all in with no knowledge whatsoever.
That people are looking for are called into question when you tell blatant lies, not embellishments. And this is, I think, one of the biggest concerns, Congressman-elect, is that you don't really seem to be taking this seriously. You've apologized. You said you've made mistakes, but you've outright lied. A lie is not an embellishment on a resume. You said you worked at Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, but they've said, we've got no record of this guy working for us. You've said you've gone to and graduated from these universities, but they've said, well, we've got no record of that. These are blatant lies, and it calls into question how your constituents and the American people can believe.
Now Tulsi's picking it up. This is the pressure. This is the pressure she needed to give. She's doing a good job here.
Anything that you may say when you are standing on the floor of the House of Representatives, supposedly fighting for them. That's the real issue here.
Well, look, I agree with what you're saying, and as I stated, and I continue, we can debate my resume and how I worked with firms such as Goldman and Citigroup.
Is it debatable, or is it just false?
No,
is it debatable, or is it just
debatable.
False?
No, it's not false at all. It's debatable. I can sit down and explain to you what you can do in private equity, in capital intro, via servicing limited.
But okay, then say you have knowledge of the business world, not that you worked at Goldman Sachs.
Partners and general partners, and we can have this discussion that's going to go way above.
If I was to say let's say I was doing an interview for like Vice tomorrow, and like, what wars have you covered? I'd be like, well, I've been to Ukraine and I've covered that. But if I was like, well, you know, I actually covered the war in Armenia, I've covered the war in Somalia, I've covered this, I covered that. And then they're like, what? There's no record of you doing any of this. I'm like, well, but I can explain it to you. No, that doesn't make up for it. I would have been lying about my resume. I would have been embellishing it to make it look better than it is.
The American people's head, but that's not what I campaigned on. I campaigned on delivering results for the American people by lowering inflation. I can sit down, and if you want to have that discussion, I'd be glad to, Tulsi, to explain that to you and make sure that we settle the score.
this is not about settling scores, and I think you just kind of highlighted, I think, my concern and the concern that people at home have. You're saying that this discussion will go way above the heads of the American people, basically insulting their intelligence. So not only are you now backtracking on these lies that you've told, but you're saying that
oh, damn. Okay, now Tulsi's adding a little like Tucker Carlson spice. Like, that isn't really 100% honest exactly what Tulsi just engaged in there. But George Santos has no clue how to fight back or push back against that, and she's already gutted him like a fish. There's nothing he could do. He's done. He's done. He's over. She's got him by the neck, and she's just squeezing and watching his eyes about to pop out. Like, there's nothing he can do. He's done. He's done so.
Can't explain it in a way that your constituents would actually be able to understand.
I can explain it in a way
if you give
me the time, I can easily if you give me the time, I can easily explain it for you.
You know, George, they're not going to give you the time. You know they won't. You're done.
As in, when investors are looking for capital, and I'm sitting there doing due diligence on the appetite and what they're looking for, right? And we work alongside GPs and LPs to help them place this capital. This is what I was doing, and that's when I worked extensively with these firms and many other firms at my time as I was vice president of Linkbridge Investors. So this isn't a made-up narrative, but I feel like nobody really wants to sit down and talk about it. Everybody just wants to push me and call me a liar. Look, I embellished my resume. I did.
Congressman-elect Santos, we've given you a lot of time. I think the time that is owed is to the people of New York's 3rd. It's hard to imagine how they could possibly trust your explanations when you're not really even willing to admit the depth of your deception to them. Thank you so much for being here and joining us.
Subscribe.
Damn, dude, look at him at the end. Look at him at the end. Look at his face.
Your deception to them. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, he's accepted defeat. It's over. He got skinned. Fatality. Mortal Kombat. Like, his spine is now laying on the studio floor. This is over. Speaking of him being over, apparently federal prosecutors are now also opening an investigation into George Santos over his lies in his congressional campaign. Federal prosecutors in New York have opened an investigation into Representative-elect George Santos. 2 law enforcement sources confirmed to NBC News on Thursday. The probe by federal prosecutors from the Eastern District of New York is at least a second investigation into the newly elected Republican, who acknowledged earlier this week that he fabricated and embellished several claims about his background involving his education and work history. Man, well, oof, maybe he can conjure up a law school education as well to get him out of trouble. Anyway, that's enough of that. Oof.